Trauma doesn't just live in memories, it settles into the body, shaping how we move, feel, and react. Survivors often develop a heightened physical sensitivity that can show up in surprising ways. A sudden startle at the slightest sound, constant hypervigilance in everyday spaces, chronic pain with no medical explanation, or even complete numbness through dissociation. These aren't random problems. They are the body's survival strategies, carried forward long after the original danger has passed. In this episode, touch, triggers, and the silent pain in the body, we'll explore how trauma rewires physical responses and how body-based therapies and awareness tools can help turn those survival imprints into pathways for healing. Trauma doesn't just sit as a memory in your head, it imprints itself onto the body. The nervous system encodes survival patterns in muscles, reflexes, and body chemistry. Even after the actual threat is gone, the body often stays braced, ready to respond as if the danger could return at any moment. This is why a person can feel on edge without knowing why, or why a seemingly harmless situation can trigger a surge of fear or tension. It's not about being dramatic or weak. It's about a nervous system that learned to value survival over comfort, and then kept repeating the lesson long after it was needed. For many survivors, the body's alarm system never fully powers down. The senses stay tuned to maximum alert. A light touch that others might find comforting can feel threatening or invasive. Sudden sounds, footsteps in a hallway, a car door slamming, a voice rising unexpectedly, because the body to jolt, freeze, or prepare for defense. Even simple movement around them, like someone walking quickly into a room, can trigger unease. This sensitivity is not irrational. At one point, it was adaptive. Being hyper-aware meant catching danger before it struck. The problem becomes when the body keeps living in high alert mode, treating neutral experiences as threats. Over time, this level of sensitivity can feel exhausting, leaving survivors drained and overwhelmed by constant vigilance. Trauma doesn't only heighten sensation, it can also reshape the way the body feels itself. For some, trauma leads to chronic pain, tight shoulders and neck, as if permanently bracing, jaw clenching, grinding teeth at night, stomach pain or digestive issues when stress rises, lower back or chest tightness without clear medical cause. These pains aren't made up. They are the body's long-term holding patterns, muscles located in survival mode. For others, the imprint takes the form of numbness or disconnection. The nervous system decides that feeling too much is unsafe, so it turns down the volume. Survivors might not feel hunger until they are faint, or might push through exhaustion without noticing. Even pleasurable sensations, a hug, a deep breath, a stretch, may feel muted or distant. Dissociation is the body's emergency brake. It cuts off sensation to prevent overwhelm. Pain, numbness, and hypersensitivity are not random glitches. They are survival strategies, the body's way of saying, "I'm protecting you the only way I know how." These signals carry information. They are clues pointing to how the nervous system adapted to danger. The task of recovery is not to force the body to stop overreacting, but to treat these signals as guides. They point to the systems that need safety, grounding, and gentle retraining. When we see these reactions as maps instead of malfunctions, we can begin to heal the body, not just the mind. Here are some everyday examples. A war veteran jolts awake at the sound of fireworks on the 4th of July. The body doesn't distinguish celebration from combat. The survival imprint still runs. A survivor of childhood abuse flinches when a friend reaches for their shoulder. The reflect isn't about the present moment, but about an old body memory of unsafe touch. Someone who endured long-term stress feels constant stomach cramps. Doctors may find nothing wrong, but the gut is carrying the weight of survival. Another survivor zones out during arguments or conflict, barely aware of their body. Dissociation becomes the body's way of living a scene that feels unbearable. Trauma changes the way the body experiences the world. It makes the alarm system too sensitive, the muscles too tight, or sometimes the sensations too muted. But these aren't signs of weakness or brokenness. They are survival imprints, proof of how hard the body worked to keep you alive. The invitation in healing is not to erase them, but to learn how to listen to these signals, decode what they're saying, and slowly teach the nervous system a new story. You're safe now. The startle reflex is one of the body's oldest survival tools. It's automatic, lightning fast, and designed to prepare you for a fight or flight. A door slams, a hand lands on your shoulder, a voice rises sharply, and before you can think, your body jerks. flinches, or tightens. For trauma survivors, this reflex often feels exaggerated. What seems like just a sound or just a touch to others can feel like a threat to your nervous system. In dangerous environments, an amplified startle reflex was protective. It meant detecting threats a split second sooner. The problem is that trauma teaches the body to keep that reflex switched on all the time. Even when you're safe, your nervous system is still braced for the next impact. Over time, this leaves you feeling jumpy, anxious, and on edge. It can also make you avoid normal situations, crowded places, public transports, or even close relationships because you can't relax around the possibility of sudden surprises. The startle reflex doesn't switch off when you lie down to rest. Many survivors experience sleep disturbances linked to it, jerking awake just as they're drifting off, night terrors or waking in panic from small noises, a restless body that never fully lets go into deep sleep. This happens because sleep requires surrender, and for a nervous system wired to detect danger, surrender feels unsafe. The result is a cycle of fatigue. The body craves rest, but the reflex keeps interrupting it. Here are some everyday examples. Flinching when someone walks up from behind, even if it's a friend. Jumping at the sound of a car backfiring, heart pounding long after. Feeling restless or jerking awake when the body tries to fall into deep sleep. Overreacting physically to playful surprises, like someone tapping you or sneaking up. The startle reflex is not a sign of weakness or paranoia. It's the nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do, keep you alive. The challenge in recovery is helping the body learn that it doesn't need to stay on red alert forever, that safety is possible, even in stillness. Hyper-vigilance is the body's way of saying, I will never be caught off guard again. For trauma survivors, the nervous system stays locked in survival mode. Even in safe spaces, a cafe, a living room, a workplace, the body behaves as if a threat could appear at any second. Eyes dart to exit. Ears stay tuned to changes in tone. Muscles remain half-braced. This isn't paranoia, it's the nervous system following the hold instructions. Stay alert or you'll get hurt. These are common, often unnoticed habits that point to a nervous system on watch. Sitting near exits. Always choosing a seat with a clear view of the door, or positioning yourself so no one can approach from behind. Tracking people's moods. Closely watching micro-expressions, tone of voice or shifts in energy. A raised eyebrow, a sigh or a pause can feel like warning signs. Startle readiness. Muscles stay partially tense, shoulders lifted, fists slightly clenched, jaw tight so the body can spring into action. Constant monitoring of environment, checking mirrors, scanning crowds, adjusting posture when someone walks in. Difficulty being present. Struggling to focus on conversation or enjoy leisure activities because part of the brain is always scanning for danger. On the outside, these behaviors can look like restlessness, distraction, or controlling tendencies. On the inside, they are survival strategies honed by lived experience. Hypervigilance doesn't just shape behavior, it drains the body and mind. It causes sleep problems. The nervous system struggles to fully power down, leading to insomnia, light sleep, or frequent waking. It also causes exhaustion. Constant scanning consumes energy, leaving survivors tired even after rest. It causes anxiety and irritability. When the body is always braced for impact, small stressors feel overwhelming, leading to irritability or outbursts. It also causes physical strain. Chronic tension builds in the shoulders, neck, jaw, and back. Over time, this can lead to headaches, migraines, or muscle pain. It causes relationship strain. Friends or partners may feel that you're on edge, distant, or hard to relax around, creating misunderstandings. Hypervigilance protects in the short term, but punishes in the long term, leaving survivors trapped in a cycle of fear and exhaustion. Here are some everyday examples. At a restaurant, you can't focus on the menu until you know where the exits are and who's sitting nearby. During meetings, you find yourself reading facial expressions more than the words being spoken. A sudden change in someone's mood feels like an alarm bell, even if nothing is wrong. Watching a movie at home, you struggle to enjoy it because your brain is still listening for outside noises. Hypervigilance is not overreacting, it's overprotecting. It's the nervous system's way of preventing surprise attacks, humiliation, or harm by staying one step ahead. But living in constant alertness takes a heavy toll. Recovery means teaching the body that it can scan less, trust more, and rest without being unsafe. When trauma happens, the body often responds by bracing for impact. Muscles tighten instinctively, jaws clench, shoulders hunch, stomachs knot in the moment. This tension makes sense. It protects the vital organs, prepares the body to fight or flee, and reduces vulnerability. But when trauma is ongoing or unresolved, those bracing patterns don't fully release. Over time, the body can forget how to let go. Shoulders stay elevated at rest, the jaw grinds at night, the stomach remains tense. Interfering with digestion. The nervous system keeps sending the message, stay ready, danger will come at any second. Chronic stress and trauma can create real physical pain, even when medical scans show nothing is wrong. For example, headaches and migraines. Constant muscle tension in the jaw, temples and neck restricts blood flow and triggers pain. Gut problems. The digestive system is especially sensitive to trauma. Stress chemicals disrupt gut bacteria, slow or speed digestion, and create symptoms like cramps, nausea, diarrhea, or constipation. Irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, is often linked to unresolved trauma. Also, back and chest pain. Muscles in the back and chest may stay locked, protecting the core. This creates stiffness, soreness, and chronic discomfort. This doesn't mean the pain is imagined. It means the body has translated psychological trauma into physical language. The phrase, "the body keeps the score," describes how unresolved trauma shows up as physical symptoms years or even decades later. Muscle memory. Just as athletes build muscle memory through repetition, trauma creates muscle memory of defense. The body remembers the posture of fear and repeats it unconsciously. Also, nervous system imprint. The brain keeps activating the fight, flight, freeze response, even without a current threat. Stress hormones flood the body, fueling inflammation and pain. Emotional residue. Surprise grief, fear, or anger often show up physically. Tears unshed become throat tightness, words unspoken become jaw tension. Fear unexpressed becomes stomach pain. Pain becomes a silent language, the body's way of saying, there is still something unresolved here. Here are a few everyday examples. A survivor of childhood abuse develops lifelong migraines, especially after stressful conversations, because their jaw and scalp muscles lock without them noticing. Someone who grew up in chaos experiences constant stomach pain before social events, not because of bad food, but because the gut learned to brace whenever people were unpredictable. Another survivor lives with chronic lower back pain. Medical imaging shows no structural problem, but years of muscle guarding have shortened and tightened tissues, creating real physical distress. Chronic pain and tension are not weaknesses or signs that it's all in your head. They are survival strategies written into the body's tissues. Muscles brace to shield, nerves stay sensitized to detect threat, and stress hormones keep systems on high alert. While this protects in the short term, it wears down the body in the long term. And here is the good news. Just as the body can store trauma, it can also release it. With awareness, safe movement, and trauma-informed care, those patterns can gradually unwind. The body that once carried trauma can be taught to carry safety. When the body or mind cannot fight, flee, or escape, the nervous system has another option: dissociation. This is the freeze or shut down survival response. Instead of staying present in an unbearable moment, the body and mind disconnect. Awareness pulls back, emotions flatten, sensations dim. Time itself may feel distorted. In the moment of trauma, the response is protective. It's the body's way of saying, if I can't stop this, I won't feel all of it. Dissociation is often the only way a person can survive experiences of abuse, violence, neglect, or overwhelming stress. Survivors who relied on dissociation may carry this pattern forward into everyday life. Common signs include numbness to body signals, not noticing hunger until faint, skipping meals without realizing or pushing through exhaustion without feeling tired. Muted physical sensations, cuts, bruises, or aches may go unnoticed until they are severe. Pleasure, warmth, or comfort may also feel distant or dulled. Spacing out or losing time, suddenly realizing minutes or hours have passed without awareness. Emotional flatness, feeling disconnected from emotions or describing experiences in a detached, almost robotic way. Out of body feeling, watching yourself from the outside or feeling like you're not really here. Like I say probably too many times, these signs don't mean weakness. They mean the nervous system has kept the dissociation strategy active, even in situations where it's no longer needed. While dissociation protects in the short term, it carries hidden costs over time, like loss of body awareness. Without reliable signs of hunger, rest, or pain, survivors may neglect health needs, leading to exhaustion, illness, or injury. Also, difficulty connecting with others. Numbness can make intimacy, friendship, or love feel distant, straining relationships. Also, blocked healing. Many trauma therapies rely on feeling and processing sensations. If the body is offline, it becomes harder to release stored tension. Also, one can feel the sense of alienation. Survivors may feel like strangers in their own skin, cut off from the very body that carries them through life. This disconnection can feel confusing or shameful. Survivors sometimes ask, why can't I feel like everyone else? They've learned to live in survival mode, even when survival isn't necessary anymore. Here are some everyday examples. A survivor of childhood trauma doesn't feel exhaustion until they collapse into burnout because their body learned to silence fatigue. Someone zones out during arguments or stressful meetings, only to realize they missed the conversation entirely. A person injures themselves during exercise but doesn't notice the pain until later because numbness marks the body's warning signs. In moments of intimacy, a survivor feels detached or not really there because closeness triggers the whole shutdown response. Dissociation and numbness are not evidence of being broken. They are evidence of a body that once protected itself the only way it could. These survival strategies shielded you from overwhelming pain, but they also disconnected you from your own signals of safety, joy, and presence. Recovery means slowly relearning how to come back into the body in safe, gentle ways. Noticing breath, feeling the ground under your feet, reconnecting to hunger and rest cues. Over time, the body that once shut you out can become a safe place to live in again. For trauma survivors, touch is not always a source of comfort. Sometimes it feels like danger. A friendly hug, a pat on the back, or even the brush of a hand can send the nervous system into alarm. Why? Because the body doesn't evaluate touch based on intention. It evaluates based on association. If touch was once paired with harm, fear, or violation, the body remembers the pairing. This means that even safe touch from a loved one can trigger the same survival reflexes as the original trauma. Muscles tighten, breath shortens. The body might freeze or pull away without explanation. It's not a conscious rejection of safety. It's the body trying to prevent danger before it begins. Triggers are not always obvious. They can be subtle cues that transport the body back into survival mode, even when the mind knows it's safe. Here are some common ones. Smells. A certain cologne, cigarette smoke, hospital disinfectant, or even food scents can spark old memories. Textures. The feel of rough fabric, leather or cold metal against the skin may echo past experiences. Voices. A particular tone, volume, or phrase can make the body react with fear. Sometimes it's not what is said, but how it's said. Environment. Crowded rooms, dark hallways, or confined spaces may recreate the atmosphere of past danger. These triggers bypass rational thought. The thinking brain may say, "I'm safe at home," but the survival brain fires alarms as if the trauma is happening all over again. When a trigger hits, survivors may experience what's known as a body flashback, or like a visual flashback, which replays a memory like a movie. Body flashbacks are primarily sensations and emotions. The heart races, muscles tense, and nausea or dizziness may surge. Sometimes survivors describe it as their body remembering what the mind has tried to forget. In these moments, the body reacts as if the trauma is happening in real time, even if the person is physically safe. This can feel confusing and overwhelming. Why am I panicking? Nothing is wrong, but from the perspective of the nervous system, something is wrong. The whole imprint has been reactivated. Here are some everyday examples. A survivor freezes when their partner surprises them with a hug from behind. They know their partner means no harm, but their body reacts as if ambushed. The smell of alcohol on someone's breath makes another survivor nauseous and shaky because it echoes unsafe environments from childhood. A person hears footsteps in a stairwell and feels their chest tighten, even though they are alone and secure. In a crowded subway, a survivor's heart races and palms sweat, not because of immediate threat, but because their body remembers past danger in tight, noisy spaces. Triggers and body flashbacks don't mean someone is crazy or overreacting. They are signs of a nervous system carrying unfinished survival responses. Touch, smells, voices, or places become cues that activate those old defenses. Healing means slowly teaching the body to distinguish past from present, so that safe touch can feel safe again, and everyday life doesn't have to be lived as a minefield of triggers. For many trauma survivors, talking alone doesn't resolve the pain because trauma doesn't just live in words or stories, it lives in the body. This is why somatic body-based approaches focus on bottom-up healing. Instead of starting with the thinking brain, they begin with the survival brain and nervous system. By calming muscle tension, regulating breath, and introducing safe sensations, the body learns that it doesn't have to stay stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or shut down. Bottom-up healing doesn't mean ignoring thoughts and feelings. It means creating the conditions where the mind can process safely once the body no longer feels under siege. Somatic practices are gentle, practical ways to signal safety to the nervous system. Here are a few examples. Grounding. Noticing the physical support of the ground beneath your feet or the chair under your body. You can press your feet into the floor or place your hands firmly on your thighs to remind your body it's anchored. Orienting. Slowly looking around the room, letting your eyes rest on objects, colors, or textures. This tells the survival brain, we are here now. The threat is not present. Safe self-touch. Placing one hand over your heart and one on your belly, or wrapping your arms around your torso. This can provide containment and reassurance, especially when touch from others feels unsafe. Gentle movement. rocking side to side, stretching, walking, or swaying to music. Movement helps release the tension, restore circulation, and engage the body's natural rhythm of regulation. These practices may seem simple, but when repeated consistently, they begin to teach the body a new pattern. Safety is possible. Several structured therapies are specifically designed to address trauma through the body. Somatic experiencing focuses on tracking body sensations and releasing stored survival energy gradually, so the nervous system learns to cycle through activation and rest. EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, uses bilateral stimulation, eye movement, tapping, or sound to help the brain process traumatic memories while staying grounded in the present. Sensory-motor psychotherapy combines body awareness with talk therapy, helping survivors notice how trauma shows up in posture, breath, and movement, and gently introducing new responses. Trauma-sensitive yoga or movement practices offer safe, structured ways to reconnect with the body without pushing beyond tolerance. Each of these approaches share the same principle: safety comes first, and the pace must match what the body can handle. Here are some everyday examples of somatic support. A survivor feels their heart racing before a meeting. Instead of forcing themselves to calm down, they pause, place both feet firmly on the floor, and exhale slowly. Within minutes, their body begins to settle. Another survivors notice they shut down whenever conflict arises. They practice gentle rocking and safe self-touch, which helps them stay present without completely checking out. In therapy, a client works with orienting by scanning the room and describing safe objects, which helps retrain the startle reflex to pause before overreacting. Somatic tools are not about fixing the body but teaching it new options. Trauma imprints survive because the body didn't get to finish its protective responses. By grounding, orienting, moving, and working with trauma-informed practitioners, survivors can complete those unfinished cycles and build new patterns of safety. The same body that once carried trauma can become the very foundation of healing. One of the most important truths for survivors to hear is this: you're not alone, and you're not weak. Startle responses, hyper-vigilance, chronic pain, numbness, or difficulty with touch are all common after trauma. These are not failures of willpower or signs of being broken. They are the natural results of a body doing everything it could to survive overwhelming experiences. When you reframe symptoms as protective instincts instead of defects, the shame begins to loosen. What feels like too much sensitivity or not enough sensation is really your nervous system proving how hard it worked to keep you safe. The hopeful piece is that the nervous system isn't fixed on survival mode. Just as it once learned to brace, numb, or overreact, it can also learn to release, regulate, and rest. Through repeated experiences of safety, trust, and grounding, the body rewires. Muscles that once held hammer can soften. A startle reflex that once fired at every sound can learn to pause and assess. Numbness that once shut out pain can gradually give way to feeling, not just fear, but also joy, warmth, and comfort. Neuroplasticity, the brain and body's ability to form new pathways, means healing is always possible. Every small practice of grounding, every moment of safety with another person, every successful use of a regulation tool plants a seed of resilience. Healing from trauma is not a quick fix. It's more like physical therapy for the nervous system. Small repeated exercises that gradually build strength and flexibility. Patience is key, because sometimes progress is invisible until you look back and realize the panic attacks are less frequent, or the sleep is deeper, or the pain has softened. Just as important, recovery doesn't happen in isolation. Safe connection is one of the most powerful antidotes to trauma. Whether it's a therapist, a support group, a trusted friend, or a recovery community, co-regulation with others help teach the body, I am safe here. I don't have to carry this alone. Here are some everyday examples of hope. A survivor who once jolted awake every night begins sleeping through after practicing grounding and breathwork for months. Another who flinched at every touch slowly learns through therapy and safe relationships to enjoy a hug again. Someone living with chronic pain finds that regular gentle movement and trauma-informed care reduce their pain flare-ups, allowing them to return to hobbies they thought were lost. Each story provides the same point. The body is not just a container for trauma, it's also a vessel for healing. Trauma leaves traces, but those traces are not permanent scars. The body that once braced, shut down, or screamed in pain can learn to feel safe, connected, and alive again. Recovery isn't about erasing the past. It's about teaching the nervous system new possibilities in the present. If you carry physical symptoms of trauma, know this: they are not signs of weakness, they are signs of survival. And with patience, practice, and support, your body can become not just the site of your pain, but the foundation of your resilience.